can help by saving water and thus promote a healthy economy and community. And whereas outdoor irrigation comprises a large portion of water use, I will recognize citizens and businesses to focus on improving outdoor irrigation efficiency. Now, therefore, be it resolved that by virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of town of Indialantic, hereby proclaim the month of April as Water Conservation Month. Indialantic, Florida calls upon all residents and businesses to help protect our precious water resources by practicing water-saving measures and increasing awareness of the importance of conservation. In recognition of the 28th year of Water Conservation Month, this year's focus will be on ensuring that outdoor irrigation systems operate efficiently by using properly functioning rain shutoff devices. By making sure these devices are installed, connected, and working as intended, our community can prevent unnecessary watering, reduce waste, and make better use of the rainfall we receive. I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the town of Indialantic to be affixed this 11th day of March 2026. So we'll take a picture.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Public comments for non-agenda items. Persons wishing to address the town council on a matter not listed on the agenda may speak at this time. Speakers must provide their name and address, observe the 3-minute time limit, speak only after being recognized by the mayor. Lauren. Lauren, you didn't fill one of these out. That's one of the new things.
It's a new thing.
It is a new thing.
Disc.
Lauren Goldfarb, 320 DeLand Avenue. I'm here to talk about the business tax receipt and the fire inspection fee. So my understanding is that every person or every entity that has a BTR in town is getting a notice about this fire inspection fee. Is that correct?
That is correct for any businesses that are like home occupational and stuff, if they're not doing a fire inspection, they're not getting a fee.
Okay, but I'm correct that if you have you have a lease in a building around here, you're going to get one of these notices.
Yes.
Okay, so I have two issues, maybe three. The first is that at the council meeting when this was approved, back in, the first meeting was in November, the first reading, second reading was in December. The question was asked, how much is this going to be? Obviously, that was a logical question. And the response was around $30 to $50. It's going to be done by resolution. We can change it over time, $30 to $50. Okay, and everyone on the council seemed to think that was reasonable. The fee is $100. That is, at a minimum, 100% more than what you were all told at the council meeting. That's problem number one. Problem number two is that the fee doesn't make any sense, and I'll tell you why it doesn't make sense. First of all, the resolution says fire inspection of commercial buildings. It doesn't say businesses. Most buildings have multiple businesses in them. I am a landlord. This is how I know about this issue because it was brought to my attention by one of my tenants. She leases 200 square feet from me. And she got this bill for $100, which she's never had to pay for in the 20 plus years she's been leasing at this building. You have businesses in town where there's one space, let's say it's 1,000 square feet, maybe a barber shop or a hair salon, where you have multiple chairs. Each one of those hairdressers has a separate BTR. Typically, these are not, yes, Mike.
I know they have separate BTRs, but they're not charging each one of them. It's the business itself.
No, no, you don't understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
If you are a business owner and you are subleasing space from another business, it could be a hair salon, it could be a lawyer, it could be whatever, right? You're occupying this space, you have a separate BTR, you're subleasing. You're going to get a bill for $100 to inspect the same space that the main leaseholder is already paying for. That's absurd. I mean, this is not being thought through. And to, combine that with the council being told $30 to $50, and it's 100. I mean, someone please explain that to me. I don't understand it. And I tried to get answers yesterday. After our tenant called, she was furious about this. I'm hearing it from her, right? But I have nothing to do with it. So I call the town. We're told, oh, you got to call to the fire department. Call the fire department. The fire department says, oh, I don't really know the answers to your questions. You have to talk to the chief. So, okay. So I left a message for the chief. Didn't hear back from the chief. Today I called Mike. Mike did call me back. Unfortunately, I was on the phone and I couldn't take the call. So, and then I called him back and he was at a meeting. But I'm really unhappy about this because every business owner in town is getting the same thing. It's twice what you guys were told at a minimum, maybe more than that, because the range was like 30 to 50 is what I heard on the video. And it's not thought out. And the resolution doesn't say businesses, it says commercial buildings. That's what the resolution says.
So Mike, we can look into that, make sure that it is being the business, not each BTR, like the example he was
Look
giving.
into that, yeah. And the $50 or the $100 was approved in a resolution by council in December.
But in November, you were told $30 to $50. So how did it double from November to December? I mean, that's, and nobody on council caught it. I mean, some of you, I don't think were on council at that point.
I think it was a second reading, and if I recall the material, in the agenda, you compared it to other municipalities. That was
But
my
that was the
remember-
first discussion. The first discussion was, the question was about how much it was gonna be. It was 30 to 50 bucks, and it's similar to other municipalities. That's when that discussion happened. When the resolution was approved on second reading, there was basically no discussion, which is typical of second readings.
Right.
So I don't think anybody was really paying attention, because all the discussion happened during first reading. So we got a problem here with the fact that it's twice as much as it was supposed to be. We have a problem here with the resolution itself because it says commercial buildings. It doesn't say businesses. It doesn't even mention the BTRs in here. So it's applying to a building. So if you sent me a bill for my entire property to come and inspect for $100, that's reasonable. That makes sense. I have 16 tenants. You mean to tell me the town's going to collect $1,600 to inspect my building? The 15 or 20 minutes people are going to be there? I mean, that's insane. So this is
seemed
not
like
well.
kind of a double dipping to
Yeah.
charge the whole.
We're not going to solve it tonight.
Yeah,
Duly-
but
Duly noted, certainly, I understand
Yeah.
the facts, and we'll get to the bottom.
All right, thank you.
I'll get some of those answers for y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing it up, Lauren.
Any other public comment? Non-agenda. Jim?
Jim Seaton, 601 North Miramar Avenue. We were led to believe that the town would be responding to formal complaints for ordinance violations at 501 North Miramar Avenue. A significant number of my neighbors have made formal complaints to the town regarding ordinance violations at Blue Beach Resort. My wife and I, Carla Rodiger, Dan Fleeman, the Shavers, and Mark Harold, who recently submitted a grievance petition signed by 50 people. Mr. Harold recently forwarded a reply from the code enforcement officer to his petition, but the rest of us have received nothing. The one-page response by the code enforcement officer to Mr. Harold was unsubstantive, failed to address many of the issues, and gave no explanations or reasoning for the town's interpretation of the ordinances. As citizens and property owners, we deserve better, and we're asking for your help. In Mr. Casey's memo of March 2024, he stated the following, and I quote, "As of this time, they have 18 active rooms that require 18 parking spots. They are required to have 1 parking space per 5 seats in that tourist zone. We've asked for parking spaces and seating for the outdoor restaurant, which the planner is working on giving us information. It was explained that any seat which is served by the restaurant or orders taken would be considered a seat for the purposes of the restaurant. They are considering binding parking from their spa across the road if additional parking is required, and the planner is working on that information. Once we've received the response from Blue Beach Resort on the parking situation, we'll get with the town attorney if binding is needed for the additional parking." End of that quote. That was 2 years ago. I have multiple emails from Paul Gugelman during that time that he was working towards this process and goal. But what is the status of this plan and process?
Mike, you spoke with, or you will be speaking with the planner, or?
Yeah, I've been working with the planner. Remember, Mr. Googleman passed away in last year, so, and we lost our planner. And so I've been working with a new planner for the last several months, and I actually have a meeting tomorrow with her on this matter about parking and throughout the whole town. She's been given a study and on some other matters in town.
Thank you. In March 2025, Blue Beach received a formal written violation notice on the fact that the size of their parking spaces and exit lanes did not meet the ordinances. What's the status of enforcing those ordinances?
The size did not meet the amount to count them.
I'm sorry?
The sizes, they weren't legal parking spots to count for his parking purposes. Otherwise, they would give him a lot more parking. He would have met the requirement.
Okay, is that going to be addressed here with your meeting with the planner?
That's one of the things we're addressing with the planner is to parking overall.
Okay. Is there anything that today that would inhibit the owner adding another 130 seats?
Jim, let's, we'll take this, send some of those questions to me, and I'll get with Mike tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Non-agenda. All right. Public announcements. There are openings on the following boards and committees: Civil Service, Heritage Committee, and Parks, Recreation, and Beautification Committee. Consent agenda. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. I want to pull item number 8 just for further discussion.
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda without item number 8, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right. Unanimous. All right, Doug, what you got?
So item number 8 is the approval for Spectrum News 13 to add a camera at the boardwalk. I just want to go into some of the details real quick. I think I'm okay with it, just generally understanding what the concept is, but just want to confirm a few details and just get it on record, what it is we're approving.
So Chief Connor was contacted by one of the reporters from Channel 13, Greg Pallone, and they wanted their weather people to have a camera there at the end of the boardwalk in Fifth Avenue, right directly in there, where they would control it. They're going to pay for it, everything else, so they'll have it be insured and the town named identification. We'll have no control over it, just for their weather purposes. And me and Chief Connor met down with the, one of the, I guess, regional, and Mr. Pallone about it down there, and they showed us where they want to put it at. And we asked for the information. I think maybe Chief Connor can put a little bit more information. He's had
Sure.
more conversations.
Can you hear me? So it would be down there, it would be, so if you see on weather channels, it says, Ponce de Leon weather camera or Bogota-Manzaman's camera. They did have one down at Ponce de Leon, but I believe it was removed and nobody even knew it. So there's criminal mischief to it or something like that. So they're looking for another venue, beachside. They talked to some of the other beachside agencies and they thought Indialantic is awesome. We work well with them, and so we did that. It's weather rated for 115 to 135, I believe, and we would have zero control. It's not a law enforcement thing. We wouldn't have access to it whatsoever. It's just for them to show pretty sunrises and sunsets and sunrises, and then weather coming in and things like that. So.
Is it pitched up higher, or is it going to be looking at beach goers, or is it?
I don't have the answer on that, but I can find out.
They do have a control over it, I know that.
And
Well,
this-
yeah, that's
here-
what-
And
what I
this
was
might
gonna
be one of Doug's questions. I'm sorry, I'll let you finish.
So it can move, PTZ it's called.
I will find out
Tilt.
that also. I don't know if it's static or if it's PTZ.
And just so everyone knows, Chief, you're right, there's cameras like this all up and down. When I worked in the port, there's several news stations that had them pointing right down which became a security issue for us, but that's a whole other thing. I don't think pointing out the ocean is going to be a security thing at all. So.
Right, and I mean, it'd be kind of
The
cool to
whales.
see the Indialantic Boardwalk Cam, and so then they get a bunch of corporate sponsorship and things like that for them, and
My questions with them when we did meet in person, it is movable, or it does
Control, they can pan
control,
tilt.
yeah.
and zoom
It'll pan, tilt, and stuff like that. They can turn it around if they want to look down the causeway or down Fifth Avenue.
But it's it is public space, it's not tied in with a law enforcement or
Correct.
automatic license plate reader, or anything like that.
That's correct. It's a weather
It's a
camera.
streaming weather
For
camera
their
for the beach.
meteorologists, right?
They can, anybody can log in and pan tilt zoom it, or is it just, or?
Just
13?
them.
Oh, okay.
Just
People
the
can
weather,
access
yeah.
it through their website. They'll have, a link to it on their website.
Okay.
Is this the first time we've had something? Because I thought there was like a Shags, back when Shags.
Shags did, some of the,
A surf wave, check the waves.
some of the B&Bs down on Wavecrest do. I mean, we actually do it when we have spring break and burglary and stuff. We go on their public domain cameras and we watch. I mean,
Yeah, Surfline has one, a couple.
yeah, Surfline.
Yeah. Yeah, there should always be a surf camera down there for years.
You good?
Generally, I'm fine with it. I don't have a problem with it. It's not any money out of our pocket. It doesn't infringe upon anybody's privacy expectations, and it's not being used for any law enforcement. It's not being used for any unannounced intent or access. It's just really for.
All right. Is there a motion on item number 8?
I'll move to approve item number 8, the agreement with
Spectrum.
Spectrum Channel 13 for their camera at the boardwalk.
I'll second that.
All right. All those in favor of approving the Spectrum News 13 camera at the boardwalk, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right. Unanimous. All right. Ordinances and public hearing. Ordinance 2026-07, second final reading, public hearing relating to the establishment of procedures for review and approval of certified recovery residences. An ordinance of the town of Indialantic, Florida, creating section 113-188-1 to the Indialantic zoning code relating to the establishment of procedures for the review and approval of certified recovery residences, providing for implementation, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date. So everybody knows who is watching or is here and wasn't here last month. This is a requirement by the state that we have to do this. So any comment from council?
I think we got to make a motion first, right?
Any motion from council?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2026-07 for recovery residences.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Comment, Doug?
There's no fees associated with this, right, Mike? Right. Thank you. That's my question.
John?
I'm good.
Carrie?
All good.
Juliet? All right, public comment? All right. All those in favor of approving ordinance 2026-07, second and final reading, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? All right, unanimous. Unfinished business. Discuss changing or removing the restriction of outdoor business activities in sections 133 to 336 zones C and C1 commercial. Matt, we talked about this last month, right? And you had some more questions, is that right?
Yeah, and I talked with Molly a little bit about it, and I know we kind of generally discussed it, but I kind of wanted to come back before drafting anything to just get a little bit more direction as to where we want to go with it.
Julie, this was kind of your thing, right?
Yeah, well, I think, as I explained, the intent was, in respect to Casa Bonita, so, I mean, whether it covers just C1, if that creates conflicts. I know we talked, was this what we talked in reference to, like, the courtyard specifically, instead of, like, the business would be required to have a courtyard to do the outdoor activities, so.
Yeah, we kind of kicked around a lot of kind of different options, and
So
I
the
didn't know where
intent
things
being-
landed.
Yeah, there'd be a path forward, so what is that path? You're the legal guy, so like,
Okay.
what can we do to make it, we don't want to open it up till things get out of hand, but, something that would allow for, calm, reasonable outdoor activities for business such as Carly's.
Okay. And what was sort of the rest of the council's thought on that?
Carrie?
My only concern was that it's right across the street from a church.
Right.
So, I am absolutely open to supporting this, but, Sunday amplified music during church services, I think could be a potential thorn. So I have a little bit of a concern about that.
Yeah, was it pertaining only to the noise, or were?
This is just for, well, it's double phase, it's
Okay.
as it is,
Amplified
doesn't
music,
allow
though.
any outdoor activities, so that's phase one. And then I know there's the noise ordinance, so
Yeah.
they don't, do they have to go hand in hand? I mean,
No, no, they can be different, and that's why I was kind of trying to distinguish, do we want to talk about, because I did draft at council's direction, I did draft, not an ordinance, but just sort of an outline.
is that what
of-
this is?
Yeah, of
Okay.
three different
That was-
versions.
This wasn't in the agenda, right?
No, I was just going to bring it up at the end in the report.
Me neither, I was like, oh, God, I didn't
No,
read it.
and you know, it was really just for discussion and to see, again, with that one, you know, do we like what's in there? Do we want to change it? Do we want to add something or maybe go in a different direction? And so in addition to the noise issue, I was looking at, you know, what and not just focusing on one business,
Right.
but any business in that particular zone or any zone. I mean, it can, you know, for different zones. But I think that's important too, not to, you know, tailor it to one business, but just to for that particular zone. And, you know, just to get some direction as to, do we want to permit certain outdoor activities during certain time periods, during certain days of the week? You know, I understand, you know, not just with that location, but in other locations in that zone, you know, Sunday being, you know, prohibited during certain times or altogether, those types of.
I don't want to say Sunday's
Yeah.
prohibited, because this is not the 1960s.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
but, no, we don't have blue laws. And first of all, I'm a huge fan of live music. So, I mean, I see live music every weekend. So I like that for this town. I like promoting things that gather our community together. So I am supportive of this.
One of the things I did, and yes, these two are kind of interrelated, but they're also separate. And just with respect to kind of the draft noise ordinance, one of the things that we had talked about was kind of putting limitations and maybe doing different tiers, like a person, you know, single guitar with a single instrument. And so one of the things I put in these ordinances that would not be considered a noise disturbance, and just sort of shifting just to the noise issue as opposed to just general activities, was, and just reading here, it's just to see how this plays out. On no more than 2 days during a 7-day week, beginning on a Sunday and ending on a Saturday, noise emanating from any property located in the T zoning district, just to use a district, I mean, it could be any district, onto an adjoining property, which is one that shares a boundary, but not onto a neighboring property, which is one where you could hear it, but they don't share a boundary, and that's to sort of curtail the noise, is permitted for a period of not more than 2 consecutive hours during the following time periods, and listed Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 7, Saturday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., Sunday, noon to 5 p.m. So the goal there would be to reach some kind of a happy middle ground there, where, you know, during a 7-day week, the owner of that particular business in that particular zone can pick 2 days, and they can have music there for 2 consecutive hours during these time frames, during these days of the week. And you know, that's just sort of, you know, out there for discussion. It's obviously not carved in stone. And then I also drafted another one where it sort of breaks down things of, you know, as we were talking about a single singer using a microphone who may also be playing a single acoustic, non-amplified musical instrument on any property located in C, C1, C2, SC, or T, that causes noise to be emanating onto adjoining property is permitted for a period of no more than 2 consecutive hours during the following time periods. And then again, it sort of lit Monday through Friday, certain time periods, Saturday, certain time periods, Sunday, certain time periods. And, you know, I don't know if it's kind of the desire of the council to go in that direction, to do that type of a thing with respect to the noise, and then also do something with respect to activities separately for outdoor activities, because it is a bit of a separate issue, outdoor activities and noise.
Right.
So I just kind of throw that out there for discussion.
I mean, my main thing would be, at whatever the activity, that it's not something that is going to be causing a nuisance to anybody around.
Right.
At any
Right.
time of day.
Right.
I don't think that's something that I want. I mean, I don't, we don't have a lot of people here tonight, but, you know, so whatever that, however you could define that activity, something that's not going to, you know, create
Invasive.
any, yeah.
Okay.
Any disruption to anybody's life or anything like that. And so, you know, even the music, if you're speaking a couple days a week, if it's amplified, not if it's not amplified. Like if there was just ambient low radio. I mean,
Yeah.
They're not going to limit that, or, you know, I think Carly has really calm yoga classes right now under the oak tree. I mean, that's not going to be an issue, I don't think, any time of the day. Well, maybe at night if there's floodlights. But, you know, so I don't know if there's a way to cover all of that sort of stuff. But again, I mean, my intent would be for any business that has the outdoor activities, that they're not going to do anything that's going to bother, you know, or disrupt, as Carrie.
Let me ask you this, other than the noise issue, which I know is probably the primary issue for a lot of these businesses, and the neighbors, and the lighting issue you may have mentioned, what are the other concerns? What would the other concerns be?
Or in
For
respect to noise
outdoor,
or in respect
well,
to
just,
activity?
yeah, just with respect to activities altogether. I mean, obviously I understand the noise issue, and the lighting issue you brought up, if someone's doing yoga classes or something at night, midnight.
I don't think that's happening, right?
I'm just thinking, you know,
Yeah. It's just as it reads now, everything is prohibited. You're not allowed to even be outside, I don't think, you know, anything. So, you know, trying to find a way to bring, you know, that particular business into
Yeah.
compliance, and then any other similar business that, you know, would have an outdoor area. I don't think we have too many, but, you know,
were there other concerns from anyone else about, you know, not just the lighting or the noise? Were there other, you know, limitations or non-limitations on outdoor activities that other people wanted to see?
I just don't know if we want to go down the road of making a list
Yeah.
of everything that's permitted or
Yeah.
not permitted outside, because there's some things that we can't foresee in the future. But I mean,
Right.
I think a lot of the restrictions on outdoor businesses or whatever are covered in other codes, right? I mean, like, you can't have a dog kennel in town, right? I mean, so,
Oh, you mean like what's permitted in a particular
Correct.
zoning district? Right.
I mean, they're not listed anywhere specifically, but they're in other either laws or codes somewhere else so.
So for example, in C1, yoga to be allowed if it had a BTR. Because there's the other yoga places in there, I know it's an acceptable use in there and things like that. So we do have a list of what acceptable uses are in those zones.
Right.
So it would be separate, yeah. You couldn't, I'm just gonna throw this out there. In the RP zone, for example, you can't put a tattoo place, but across the street you can. It's just the way our code works. So we have all those type of uses for different zones.
So I guess the question would be, if the use is permissible in the zone, and the primary concerns are noise, and I guess lighting issues at night, I'm trying to figure out what other activities we would want to, what other issues would be a nuisance?
Gangster rap?
So,
I don't know about the content of the music.
so I think, we have to be careful here.
Right, right.
So while it's noble to be focusing on Casa Medina, and I love.
No,
it's
and
not one
that's
of the
what I'm saying.
ways.
I'm trying not
Yeah,
to
no, I know,
focus
I'm just speaking
not on
broadly,
one,
I'm not
yeah.
speaking to any one person. I'm just saying, in general, council, we need to be careful here. We're not creating a point solution. We need to look at this as a holistic, which I think we are, but using that as a launching point. If you read through, reading the tea leaves, I think the GG, outdoor business activities being prohibited, was a catch-all, because there is no definition of what an outdoor business activity is, which would help you define what it isn't, right? By subtraction. And there are long lists of what are permitted and not permitted, and some of those lists have funny things on them that are not relevant anymore. And I did see the tattoo parlor, which we added many years ago, to the C1 zone permitted list. So updating the list, and I understand that to John's point, but if we don't provide some guidelines to what is allowed or not allowed, we then open ourselves up to interpretation of what, as we've seen in other areas where they stretch the interpretation.
No, but I think that's my point. If they're in other places, why are we coming up with something new?
No, I'm saying in terms of what are not permitted activities. We can attack it from either permitted or not permitted, but we have to be explicit about outdoor activities.
Okay.
Because the way that the code is written today, if a business wants to do an outdoor activity, they just can't do it.
Gotcha.
Right, so-
There's lots of lists of things you can do, but the implication is that those things are not covered by outdoor activities. They're like, you can't run a car shop, you can't do a dog kennel.
Right, like you can have a yoga studio in C1,
But you
but you can't do it outside.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right.
Right.
So from my perspective there, it does, C1 and C do abut or are close enough to residential areas that there is inevitably light or noise, I'll call it pollution, or bleed over to those adjacencies. Maybe not in direct contact, although in some areas, I think C1 does come in contact with our zone on the south side of town. So again, we just have to be sensitive to that, and then if my concern is if we get too complicated with the number of instruments and the number of singers, the type, that becomes problematic. Is it a tenor or an alto?
Sure, sure, no, agreed, yeah.
A uke versus, anyway, you get the point, versus a bass drum. I'm not opposed to outdoor business activities, but given some of the other things and problems that have been highlighted by residents, we need to be sensitive to what we potentially invite. And maybe we focus it from not so much from what we don't want as to what we do want, which is, but I think we all have different versions of that. And while noble to make everybody happy, I don't know that that's feasible. But we certainly can do the best we can. So I just caution that we be very, very thorough in our review here before we open this up to outdoor activities, and we describe them, and it may seem extremely detail-oriented, and it may seem like maybe we don't need to be that descriptive, but from my opinion, I think we do, just to make sure we get it right, and so that we don't end up having to rewrite it or having to resend it. I'd rather take the 3 to 6 months to get it right than to pass something in 2 to 3 months and have to touch it again and again and again. So my concerns, and if you read the ordinance and what isn't permitted in terms of those kind of things, and you do a little research, it typically comes down to noise or noise and light pollution, appearance, right? You don't want some place that's going to turn to a junkyard, which obviously a business that has an outdoor area is not going to, at least they shouldn't be motivated to, and any kind of pollution or degradation of the outdoor environment surrounding the business, such that, tires and smells and odors and those kind of things. So those are the kind of broad strokes that you just try to work your way in from there, in my perspective. So some of them I think naturally we're not gonna have to actually worry about, but everybody agrees that we don't want those. I think when you start to get to the details of, is it classes, is it a cafe, is there music amplified or not amplified? Are there events? Are there days and times? Those kind of things. So on and so forth. That's my piece.
Is it possible to go at it a different way? Perhaps if we were to allow it, they would have to get an outdoor business activity permit. And that way, council has a way to review what the nature of the business is before it's approved, instead of just leaving it open to, is that a possibility?
And so what would be an example of that? Like what?
I'll give you an example. I have a guest here tonight, Chi and her husband Jason's outside. She came to me, she's a neighbor of mine, and she wants to open up, and I'll let her speak to it, she's gonna speak in the future about it, but some kind of homeschool, obviously not in the neighborhoods, but that would be an example, like a classroom setting, something like that, where they wanna do perhaps a traditional classroom in a building, but they'd like to do classes outside too. So something like that, would that be on your list of prohibited? But I like Julie's thought, because what the advice I gave Chi was come to a town council meeting, meet some of the staff and all that. But I really like that, because the thought being is, okay, she can see who's up here, she can talk to those folks later on to see if they're going down the right road. But to Julie's point, if we have a permit system in place where a business wants to come to town and say, hey, here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to open up a tattoo parlor, and I'd like to do tattoos under a palm tree. And we say, no, that's not going to work. So we know beforehand that he's, and that way kind of locks that business into that kind of contract that's what they're going to do there. So anyway, I like that.
My guess is the permit would have to be defined though, right?
Yeah.
Like, we couldn't, it'd have to be defined, like the parameters would have to be defined for everything, which is gonna put us back at, what do we wanna define? So do you define it in the ordinance or define it in a permit? Because we can't be subjectively, you know,
We define it in the permit process.
I mean, again, if this is something that, I mean, Matt, is this something that's even like
Well,
possible?
Are we talking about a permit for a business altogether, or is it sort of a business
Like a
that?
separate, since it's prohibited now, as it's defined,
Yeah.
you know, maybe we could put it in there that says, in the event that a business, you know, wishes to apply for a outdoor permit that would be within, you know, some general parameters of, we don't waste people's time who think they want to have like a circus outside or something. you know.
Sure.
But they would, if they think they satisfy that, then they would, you know,
So would it be,
apply and then even have like maybe a probationary period and then see if it's, you know, I don't know, depending on what it is.
would it be for a business activity outdoors that they're doing on a regular basis, or is it sort of a special event type of?
I think it could be something on a regular basis, because a lot, to me, the freedom of having a business and investing in a business is you want to have the freedom to, if it's a reasonable activity they're wanting to do. Because otherwise, to me, the other would just fall under the special permit, you know, if they're having something.
could it be an annual permit? Like,
For, you apply for it at the beginning of the year, and it's good for that year?
or, yeah,
Reevaluate
it's good
it?
for 12 months and then reevaluated.
Wouldn't that fall under the lines of a special event?
Well, but that's what I was that's what I was thinking of. Are we talking about like something that they're doing for a special event, or is it something that they want to do every Saturday, or something they want to do every Friday or every Saturday?
I think what we want to avoid is we want to avoid having a recurring approval process.
Yeah. And subjectivity.
Well, and the recurring approval process, because then it becomes repetitive, it just doesn't help the business owner. They're like, why do I have to keep applying for this or getting it? And then council or staff. And then I certainly don't want it to be subjective, like yes, you, no, not you.
Right.
And even if there are some slight differences, that's always in the eye of the beholder. Plus, I think to your point, as the business owner, you like to be able to understand the boundaries and then go paint your picture the way you want to paint it. But we don't think about it very often, but future council. If we leave it up to the discretion of the council or the staff, if we define it to be such as this, define it as such, how do we make sure that future council, not us, is going to implement it in a way that we intended, and they don't take it completely off the track?
So then if we go back to the original idea and saying that we're going to take away the prohibited language in that zone, and then create some allowances, I guess, if you want, you're saying we can allow this, and then if there's some new idea, they would just come and we would alter it? Is that how that works? 'Cause I can't imagine that we can cover every
No, and I
possible-
think that's reasonable to expect that you would craft what you believe today as the appropriate, if that's what we decided to do, that you could craft an ordinance, and then you could amend it, update it as appropriate, but
Right. And not to
I
make,
think
I'm sorry.
And I think we can achieve that goal if we set out, because, I mean, we just started, but in my opinion, I think we can achieve that goal at some level of rigor, depending upon how we want to do it.
So,
I mean, sort of the simplest way is to just remove the prohibition altogether. And even if you remove the prohibition altogether, they still have to comply with the noise ordinance issue, if that's you know, a primary objective there. You know, even if they can do outdoor activities, they still have to do it within the constraints of the noise ordinances.
Good point.
The other thought is, like the noise ordinance and as it sits now, the ordinance pertaining to sound amplified equipment, there could be timeframes on it, you know, Monday through Friday during this period of time, you know, 9 to 5 or whatever it is. You know, I'm just throwing something out there. And Saturday and Sunday could be different times. But you know, those seem to be the simplest ways to do it.
Mike, did you have?
Yeah, I'm going to be kind of devil's advocate a little bit, one is, it should somehow be tied to the business that's in the existing inside building, because you have an empty business, or the parking lot at the old Bank of America, it's empty, and they said, okay, we're going to have outdoor something every week. It has no relation, they can exchange different companies and things like that, and becomes more of a venue. It's not licensed as a venue and things, you know, whether it would be you know, related to something there, you know, that could be an issue I can see down the road if a property became empty or just somebody wanted to start in their parking lots, throwing them an outdoor event and coming in. So there should be some type of, if you're in a licensed outdoor event, it's gotta be tied to the usage too, because they want to put, you know, they can't put food trucks there, but they put food tents. You know, I forget if our ordinance covers the food, but, and so that's some considerations. You might want to make sure that there is some type of stipulation tying that, just that we're not just a random, you know, don't want to say I don't like farmer's market, but you have a farmer's market every week through all the different businesses and stuff, and then nothing's tied to it.
Carrie, anything to add?
Not at this moment.
John,
I'm good.
you're probably out of words, right, Doug?
Take that as a hint. Yeah.
No, it's all good information. All right.
I'm having constructive ad, how about that? I've already said I've said what I need to say.
So what would be to make sure we don't just kick this around
Yeah.
for 6 months? Like, what do we need to do next? And I guess this is my frustration with government, is because I know we have to cover everything, but it's like, I just want to make, this isn't going to be the first type of business that we're going to have in the area that's going to want to do something maybe a little different than we've done. Again, as long as it's complementary to our area and doesn't, you know, go against our small town feel and everything.
We should
So,
support it.
so what do we need to do to make it actually happen and not like talk it to death?
I'll ask the first
I mean, I
question.
think this is all good exploration and it needs to be
Yeah.
happen. So what do we need to do to actually make it safe and protective and restrictive but actually go forward?
What zones do we want it to be in? That's the first easy question.
Well, when I looked at this, I was just thinking of C1 to start with, the C1 district.
But why not C? I'm gonna play the devil's advocate.
Yeah, I
Why
mean,
not,
we
why not T?
could.
There's businesses in T.
In tourist, the tourist district?
Yeah, there's businesses in tourist district. I'm just playing advocate. What,
mean,
you
we
know,
could.
what
We
would
could.
we want, right? I'm just asking the question. Because
And I was
that's
gonna
where you
men-
start.
I was going to
my
mention
perspective.
earlier, I don't want to make it any more complicated, but how does this, like I know we have outdoor cafe things, and I know there was an issue with that. So, I mean, I just think we need to address all of it and make it, you know,
Yeah, I don't want this conversation to die. You said something brilliant that you, Matt.
Oh,
What would happen if we removed the prohibition?
Yeah.
What would happen? The business is still gonna have to get reviewed when it comes in here, right? So removing it would,
Where all the
you know,
Cs were.
Well, it still has to comply with what's
Correct.
allowed in the zone.
absolutely.
And it still has to comply with the noise ordinances.
yeah, noise ordinance is, to me, is a separate,
Yes.
completely
Yes,
separate issue.
Absolutely,
you
absolutely.
know. Other than that, if we remove it,
Well, that's what I was kind of getting at when the conversation was, well, we don't want it to become a nuisance. And I was saying, well, if the concern generally from the conversations in the past couple of months has been with noise, you know, what other nuisances are we looking at? Because even if the prohibition was removed, they still have to comply with the noise ordinance. So that's why I was trying to figure out what other nuisance would it be that we would be concerned with? And you mentioned the lighting. But what?
well, I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
I was talking in reference to, I know like Indiard has had some lighting
no, that's a
issues
good
because they
point,
are operating 24 hours a day. And that's backed up to residential as well, so.
And again,
I don't know, is there a way to say, allowing the outdoor activities that are respectively a part of the business? Like if they, like Mike was saying?
yeah, I think that makes sense to have a nexus to the business. That, you know, you're not having a circus at a
Right.
doctor's office or something,
Right.
or at a, you know, or whatever it might be. You know, some sort of
Hours of operation would be another one.
hours of
We
operation.
don't want it to go into midnight, those kind
Yeah,
of things,
oh,
or early in the morning, or
absolutely. Yeah.
those kind of things. I think that's the.
What I could do is I could do several drafts, like I did with the noise ordinance, bring it to the next meeting. Everybody can kind of take a look at it and see, and you know, what direction they want to go after it's kind of in black and white. Maybe that, you know, remove the prohibition, one maybe with timeframes, one with timeframes and a nexus to the business, or removing a prohibition and having still a nexus to the business. You know, just
Yeah, I think it needs to be tied to the business and the hours for sure, and obviously the noise, but.
Right, and if we create the 3-tier system, it would apply to the, right?
What was the 3-tier system? Sorry.
That we talked about, saying that somebody, before a complaint gets called, it has to meet 3 different, no? Nobody made that up?
Yeah, we talked about it, but
Yeah.
Well, if we put something in that respect. to
No, I
the
think,
noise ordinance.
to be clear, the noise ordinance would, we've already touched on it, would be, is completely,
Completely separate.
separate and still enforceable as it exists today.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So any discussion on that is not related to to
Very separate, yeah, separate ordinance.
so you good?
Sure. It's crystal clear now. No, I think what I'll do is maybe I can do with what I did with the noise ordinance is I'll draft like several different versions, bring it, and, see which, what seems to work, what everybody seems to like after further reflection.
Are outdoor business activities prohibited in the T-zone? I don't think, I didn't actually look
In the
that.
T-zone?
Yeah,
No, they're not.
okay. So it's not it would not be affected by this? You have a customer?
I think it's
The
just
T-
the
T-zone.
C1 and C2.
C2, okay. So it would only be affecting the zones along Fifth Avenue effectively.
Even if it's an hour or so before the council meeting, I would personally would appreciate being able to read it, and so I could add thoughtful comments to it.
Yeah, yeah.
We're all good?
Yep.
Public comment. Let's see. Sherry, you're top.
Sherry Ledoux, 419 Third Avenue. I am amazed that you're considering the discussion to remove this restriction. First of all, you have to consider that in every instance, there's a possibility you're going to have a bad player who's going to take advantage if you don't make sure that you are not ambiguous when you say, if you're going to remove the business, no outdoor activities, someone's going to come along and take advantage of it. So I think that totally removing it and not putting some kind of description in there may come back to haunt you later down the line. The reasoning behind allowing some outdoor activities is that many in the town value and appreciate the natural beauty of the outdoors and understand the value of fresh air to overall health and well-being. It is also stated that there are no C1 properties that adjoin residential property, removing the concern for disrupting the quality of life of residents. Please understand that a C1 property does not need to adjoin a residential property for its outdoor activities to disrupt a resident's quality of life, because along with these activities comes noise. My backyard is 120 to 150 feet from several C1 properties, and if any of them decided to have an outdoor activity, it would be quite disruptive to me and my neighbors along both sides of Third Avenue. I appreciate the natural beauty of my backyard and want to have the opportunity to enjoy the fresh air, but would be unable to do so if businesses were permitted to conduct activities outdoors. And what about the residents who live in the RP zones? Some of them live just across a street from businesses in the C1 zone. Outdoor business activities would be a nightmare for them. You as town council members represent the businesses of Indialantic, but don't forget you also represent the residents. Residents who will be harmed and whose lives will be disruptive if you remove or alter this restriction. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim?
Jim Seaton, 601 North Miramar Avenue. I would also urge caution to the town council on any changes to the ordinances as regards outdoor business activities without a lot of further investigation and I think some notification to the residents. As Doug has pointed out, their C1 district is right across the street from a residential district on the 400 block of 6th Street and stuff. I mean, do we want a putt-putt golf course right there in front of these people's houses? So I think if I understand the town's policies, that there's a site modification plan, right? I mean, businesses can apply for that. It can go to zoning and planning. And not only can they, weasel or move some of these things, they can put some restrictions. So in the case of the place you're interested in, Julie, they could go to the zoning and planning board, and the zoning and planning board could say, okay, we're gonna let you do some outdoor business activities, you know, one-up kind of thing, but there's restrictions on the hours, the loudness, I mean, things that would allow some of these businesses to do it without opening up Pandora's box, because none of us know what the next outdoor business is gonna be, right? Someone's gonna put in a skate park, a putt-putt golf course. Some of those in the right locations could be good, but generally speaking, the C districts are so close to residential districts that it's an issue. And keep in mind that in some places you can argue that there's the RP district that's a little bit of a block between the residential and the commercial, but the RP district is meant to have residential businesses or residences there as well as professional buildings. And so you don't want to inhibit somebody who's bought property in the RP zone from putting in residences because now he's got an outdoor business across the street. So I may misunderstand the site modification plan system, but it seems like to me we have a way already for that to go to zoning and planning, have an open hearing, have it reviewed by peers, the residents could come and put input, and I think likely it could meet the needs of everyone to do that without opening Pandora's box by saying, you know, outdoor activities are allowed. So,
Yeah, that brings it. Thank you, Jim. That brings up a good point, I guess. How does the zoning play into it? Because right now, obviously, outdoor activities are not allowed, no matter what. So it doesn't need to go to zoning. If we remove that, how does that play into zoning at all? The ZMP?
Well, my thing would be, if it's not a permitted use, zoning and planning wouldn't have the authority to even issue the change.
Zoning cannot regulate use.
Yeah. They can do site modification, but it's not a permitted use, they can't do anything. We'd have to go to the Board of Adjustments and get a variance.
I want to hear what Cliff has to say.
Yeah.
Changed, they changed the building to.
The site plan modifications are for structures and site modifications of
They don't,
that.
yeah.
Placing seating outside or having an event.
They can't legally
Yeah,
regulate
but I-
changes like that.
But I think we're kind of talking about two different things. I mean, you know,
Yeah,
talking.
it was more of a clarification.
Yeah, like going from a restaurant with outdoor seating to some of the examples like a skate park or a putt-putt is not what is intended by opening up the outdoor. It's just something that's a nexus to the business that,
Can
you
you
know.
add those two items to make sure they can't be there? I do not approve of a putt-putt course
now there's a
or a
list.
skateboard.
Well, I think the concern that was expressed was about, I guess, fundamentally altering the business that's there, and that's certainly not the intent, as I understand it, as what we're trying to do, is just trying to give the business owner, whether it's a restaurant or a bar or whatever it is, you know, the option to have some outdoor seating and you know, maybe some quiet music or something like that, as opposed to tearing down the restaurant and building a skate park. That's not what's intended by removing outdoor activities. And maybe that's part of the reason why it's so important to put the nexus to the existing business aspect of it.
And also, I'd like to add, we have younger families moving into this community. So, this is by no stretch a retirement community area. So I think we need to be thoughtful in our planning and moving forward to accommodate families, people that like to enjoy the outdoors, but people that also want to do outdoor activities with children and/or pets. We're getting younger. And it's a good thing that younger people are moving into our community.
Yeah, maybe you are.
Getting younger than it.
Yeah.
Our community will die.
Right.
Correct.
Kitty.
Kitty Lowe. I'm just getting shaken up over this, sorry. 411 3rd Avenue. Okay, I'm here to express my strong opposition, sorry, to the proposed change.
Kitty, real quick, you want to take a breath? Somebody else wanted to say some words, or you just want to keep going?
No.
Okay.
I'll keep going.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know where this all started from, how this is going on. Okay, I oppose the changes to the elimination or changes to the zoning ordinance. Well, I wasn't here last meeting. I followed the proceedings online and was deeply concerned by the suggestions presented. As a resident of Third Avenue in the Atlantic for nearly 25 years, I can assess that the noise from local venues like Casa Bonita and you know where else is clearly audible from my house and many other houses on our street. Unfortunately, they don't come up and say something, but we'll see. The existing ordinances were established for vital reasons, to protect the peace and quality of life for the residents living on and behind these commercial and RP zones. While some argue that the ordinance is outdated, the reality is that our neighborhood has only become more residential over time. Changing these rules now would be a step backward. If these codes are relaxed, it invites future business owners on 4th and 6th Avenue to install outdoor venues with loud amplified music or skating or whatever else that are currently restricted for a reason. We already are seeing issues with businesses currently operating in an RP zone on 4th Avenue that are very disturbing. When I opened my business, I read all the codes and all the local codes that were restricted to what I can and can't do, and I didn't do them because it was there. When you buy a business and you open a business, find out what the code is before you go in there. Not just try to change it for yourself and parties, I guess. I don't know. Don't get me wrong, I love live music, I like dancing, I like having fun. I just think it needs to be done in an area where it's not disturbing the whole residents, all the residents. Sorry. So when my husband and I decided to move where we moved, we did our due diligence and we looked at the ordinances that was going to be behind there. And we read it and we said, no, this isn't going to happen here. Well, now it's starting to happen. So to those who support these changes, should consider whether they would truly want this type of noise or any activity such as this permitted in their neighbor's backyard or your own backyard. And I urge the council to uphold the current ordinance and protect the integrity of our residential zones.
Thank you. Diogo.
Diogo Drados, 420 11th Ave. So obviously people have a lot of concerns. It's hard to define all the nuisances that might come about. Doug, I think you had really great thoughts, and you mentioned that any changes that we would make, we want to be thoughtful and not maybe have to keep remaking them if we regret a decision. Enumeration of a list of activities seems hard if it has to come back to council every time, right? Every time we want to add one or every time we want to remove one. Is there a way, and maybe this is to the other point about like zoning or adjustments having some say, is there a way that a separate board like adjustments could own the enumeration? Council defines just the fact that things on the enumerated lists, and then without having to go through an entire first reading, et cetera, to actually change that list?
I don't think so. That's just elected officials, right?
You're talking about in the ordinance, changing the ordinance?
Well, so that's the thing. It's like the ordinance just refers to a list, and then the list is owned by a different body, like Board of Adjustments, that can then change what's on the list.
Right. So like, does the list have to go through council, or can Board of Adjustment or zoning or planning? But those boards don't have any authority.
I mean, they can make suggestions.
Right, but they don't have any authority, so it always has to come back to council.
Yeah.
Always has to come back to council.
I mean, they can make recommendations.
Right. And there's no like expedited like council process.
No, that's
for,
state
like, changing a
statute.
list. Yeah.
The statute requires 2 readings.
So I expect that the way it's set up legally is that your ordinances are codified such that it's understood and it can't change on a whim for purposes of property owners and business owners. And then you can change it as the process described. If you can, we can do resolutions from other things where we're able to modify fees or hours or those type of things for other not ordinance or use case kind of specific, or usage specific, I guess. At least that's my expectation as for the rationale why that's the case. So, I don't see it as necessarily prohibitively difficult though either, to be quite fair.
To what, to amend a list?
To change the ordinance. While it may seem slow, in that, hey, we agree, okay, let's change it. It's not that, but it's also, if we were doing that every time, it doesn't allow us that thoughtful process to get resident feedback, because then residents are notified, have an opportunity to provide it, so on and so forth. So.
Yeah, my only thought. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other public comment? All right. So Matt, closing thoughts, you good?
With respect to this?
Yeah.
So I think what I'll do is what I did with the noise ordinance. I'll draft several versions based on our discussion here today, and we can have that for discussion at the next meeting.
You guys good with that? All right.
And like Carrie says, a little bit ahead.
Yeah. Yes.
So we can review
Yes,
it and have
yes.
a good conversation.
Yes.
on it.
Thank you.
I'll make sure he does.
All right. So we have no new business. Matt, anything to report?
Yeah, two things. One, at the last meeting, the council approved filing the foreclosure complaint, which we've done. So just wanted to update you that that's been filed and that's going through the process now. And the second was really just, I was going to mention, and I guess it kind of came up in the outdoor activity thing too, but the completely separate issue, although related issue, of the noise ordinance. And so at our last meeting, there was some discussion, and as we did with the outdoor activities here, there was some different thoughts on how to, what to do with it. And so I've drafted, not a new ordinance, but just several proposed, what could turn into an ordinance. And I did one that was the plainly audible standard, which I know the chief is in favor of. I did one providing for decibels. And then I drafted a third one that could be either way, plainly audible or with decibels. And instead of just doing, as I mentioned earlier, no more than 2 days a week during a 7-week period, a property located in whatever zone can have noise emanating from it for a period not more than 2 consecutive hours during certain times and days of the week. I did sort of the tiered system we had talked about, and I know there's also been some concern over the ability to enforce that and trying to carve out that. But that was kind of the reason I did that, so everyone could take a look at these and read these and see what they thought was the way to go with this. And what I tried to do was, and getting some input, Mark, from the code officer as well, from our neighboring town. One of the concerns I had with the way the noise disturbance itself was defined was, especially with a plainly audible standard. With a decibel standard, it's very objective. It's this number, it's that number. With plainly audible, there's a lot of language in there like, well, is it a normal sound for this area? Would a person be offended by this? Would a person be irritated by this? And so there's a lot of subjectivity with that. So I tried to take that subjectivity out of it and just say if it's plainly audible from an adjoining property for a certain period of time, it constitutes a noise disturbance. And then I went down to the next section where there was already a certain section where you had certain activities that were exempt from being a noise disturbance. Those were like emergency vehicles and fireworks on the 4th of July and these types of things. And that's where I went through and added the 2 days a week, this particular property in this particular zoning district for 2 hours can do it, for Monday through Friday, 9 to 7, and tried to go about it that way. And then with respect to the sound amplifying equipment for special events, it was all kind of melded together, both for a private property and for in a town park, and I split that up just to make it a little bit more clear. And I think part of the discussion too was potentially limiting the number of special events. So just to throw it out there for discussion, for a special event on private property, I limited it to once a month, every calendar month, and for on public property for a person or entity, twice a year. And again, those are just, numbers that I threw out there just for discussion.
Is that outside the special permit?
That would be for the special permit,
for
if you're
the
seeking a special permit, yeah. Yeah, so it reads, you can do 2 days a week essentially during Monday through Friday during this time, Saturday during this time, Sunday during this time, you kind of take your pick, what 2 days of the week you want to do it. And then if you, in addition to that, want to apply for a special permit, you can do that once a month.
For an event.
For an event, for an event. And part of the application process is to also explain why you can't do it during the time frame that's already been given. So, it's tricky. We talk just like the outdoor activities and going in a lot of different directions. So I tried to give some options, and you have the printout, so maybe take a look at it, and we can see what we like, what we don't like, and what we want to do or don't want to do.
Cool.
Can we get an electronic copy as well? Just-
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that, Matt.
Yeah.
Mike, anything?
Yeah, real quick, hold on, let me get back to my notes here. As I mentioned earlier, I have a meeting with the planner tomorrow. We're also discussing our comp plan amendments that we have to do, so we're working on getting an RFP, because we have to hire somebody to do the comp plan and update it with the state. And because there's some language, that's why it's like, this language we had to correct on the recovery houses and things. So that's one, some of the ordinances, we got to get in compliance with that. The magistrate stuff we got in, we're planning on posting it tomorrow. Matt had sent us the stuff, so me and Molly reviewed it today. And so hopefully by next April, on the April meeting, I think it's the 13th, if I'm not wrong, that we'll have a choice. We have several people that expressed interest already, so we're going to be posting it out there. And then, as you did in this one, you approved some paving on South Ramona.
Yep.
Yeah, South Ramona and on 9th Avenue in the 400 block. But we do have like another, I can't remember if it's second or third, where we're going to be paving that too. That'll be coming before you next month or two. And it's very important with all these tax cuts going on and stuff and where we'll go, because we've done more paving in the last 4 or 5 years, I think Councilman Wright will tell you, than we have in 20 years with milling and paving. We were just doing so trying to keep that infrastructure and stuff, and we've done good about our reserves, funding stuff in the future. That's an important part of the reserves.
I had a question that I don't remember. Anyway, it was something about you said.
Paving, comp plan, planner.
Magistrate, that's what it was, yes. Our traffic magistrate, he cannot be the
Correct.
code enforcement, okay.
Yeah,
Because he
we
called me
verified.
and asked me about that.
The dual office holding.
He even checked into it.
Yeah. Okay, I was just wondering. I don't have anything to report, although Mike and I met with Congressman Herodopoulos today. He just had an open house for the local mayors and town managers, so it was a good conversation. Doug?
Congratulations to the police department for their grant money they received. So thank you for saving our taxpayers' money and the good work that you continue to do. And your departments, please pass that on.
John?
Nothing.
Carrie?
Just two little things. Also, congratulations to our police department for the grant money. That's money well earned, so thank you for that. And thank you for always looking for other ways to find resources to help better fund our town. So we really do appreciate your efforts for that. So hats off to you for that. I attended the South Beaches Coalition meeting yesterday, and the board, there was a recommendation for Stu Glass to be our citizen advisory member on that committee, and he was unanimously voted in. So he will be taking that role effective April 1st. And so we're super happy about that. And I also wanted, there's a lot of talk starting now about the half-cent sales tax for the Indian River Lagoon replenishment, because that runs out this election cycle. So I attended the the MRC, Marine Resources Council meeting last Tuesday, a week ago, and they were saying, oh, there's people reaching out to all the beachside communities. So I asked that question yesterday. I asked if anyone had reached out to us, and the answer was no. And I asked that at the South Beaches meeting, and no one has been reached out. So I anticipate that it's coming. They want our support, and I think we should give it because it's our backyard and it's our lagoon in our community as well as Melbourne Beach and Indian Harbor and Satellite Beaches. And I think all of the representatives at South Beach Coalition are all on board to help us further that, because that would be another 10 years. So that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Yeah, on that note, I know there's some, online chatter, right, opposition and support, but, there's some noisemakers, for lack of a better term, that throw out a lot of information about the half-cent tax and what has or has not been done, as they claim, with the lagoon. And most of it is not true. My dad is extensively involved with the lagoon, and the half-cent tax is working. We may not see it like we think we should or we want, but it's definitely working. So anyway, Julie.
Just nothing much to report. I did want to give a shout out, he's not here, but to Public Works. We, with the Garden Club ladies, have been, and Public Works in general, have been working to fix some freeze issues in Lily Park, and they've been working very hard. The only other thing would be to follow up, and did you meet with Susan Hall, Mike? With the median?
We actually have a meeting next week.
Okay. I didn't take the time to look at the date,
Yeah.
but I knew it was coming, so, okay.
Yeah, no, we're doing a walkthrough next week and stuff, and it looks much better out there.
It does. I just was curious with the replacements that are coming.
That's why we're doing a
maybe.
walkthrough. Yeah.
So, yeah, was curious, so, but other than that, I'm good.
Meeting adjourned. Thanks for coming.
Not too bad.